Hi, everyone. Hi, guys. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming here today, joining our class. Let me present my screen so that you are all aware of what today's masterclass is all about. One second. Hopefully, you can see my screen. Vitor, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can
Perfect.
see.
Thank you. All right, everyone. So let's just wait a couple of minutes so that everyone who was in the line here can join us. Okay. And you can send the invite to your team, to your colleagues who might be interested in learning a little bit more about AI. All right. So these here are the first steps into basically all of the knowledge that we can offer you regarding AI. And we'll also dive a little deep into AI agents in Pipefy. Okay. So before we actually get started, I want to let you all know I do see some familiar names here who perhaps might have attended our first masterclass about AI agents, which was back in February or March. I'm not sure. But during that masterclass, I received an excellent feedback. I actually received one from a customer and one from a colleague here at Pipefy that the content was incredible, that you learned a lot, hopefully, from AI agents in Pipefy, but some people were still a bit confused about the whole I will use the term atmosphere that is AI, right? So the entirety, the enorm, I don't know, like the enormous aspect of AI, right? So it is a large concept to grasp, and we have a lot to learn yet from AI. So this is what today's class is all about. We will take a step back and we'll learn a little bit more about AI in the market, about AI functionalities inside of Pipefy, and even some tips for example, a prompt. Okay. So today we'll still talk all about AI. It's just a little more simplified so that we can understand and, of course, apply it to our businesses at Pipefy. Okay. And I am not alone here today. I have a colleague. So soon I will introduce him. Okay. So for now, let's just keep it in this mystery so that we can then talk a little bit about AI. But first, I would like to start with a question, right? So we have here our chat. So I want to know, guys, when was the last time that you used artificial intelligence, even without realizing it? Okay. So if anyone wants to remember, I'm sure it won't be that difficult. Okay. But you can send your questions in the chat. Vitor, here, my colleague, will send his answer. All right. In the chat here. Let's think about the last time. And even if you don't send the answer, just think. Okay. That's fine too. Just think about the last time that you used AI in your day to day tasks. Okay. And that could be in your business, but it could also be in your personal lives, right? I even put here as well. If you used autocorrect on your phone to send a text message, if you got some movie recommendations on Netflix or any other streaming service, that already counts as an artificial intelligence program, right? I'm organizing a trip at the moment and I am using a specific tool to help me come up with a whole schedule of things that I want to do in this trip. I want to visit some touristy spots, I want to check out some restaurants, and I'm asking for some advice from this AI, right? So that is one use that I am realizing that I'm using it, right? But for example, a movie recommendation from Netflix, the algorithm, we have AI involved there, and we might not even realize that it is in our day-to-day lives, right? So Vito, for example, he's trying to solve paperwork with his bank, and he was talking to an AI agent with their chat. That's Perfect. And that is one of the examples that we'll also cover here today. Okay. So now it's officially the time to introduce him and myself. So for those who may not know me, my name is Fernanda. I'm a global product trainer here at Pipefy. And Vitor is our account executive for North America accounts. All right. So he has a lot of experiences with our international customers, and he will help us understand a little bit more how we can identify the perfect moments, the perfect strategies to implement AI in our businesses. Okay. And I will let him introduce himself. I will also let him go on here with the topic. But before I can pass the torch on to Vitor, I will want to clear out some of the things that we have here, some of the rules that we have here in our masterclass. Okay. I would like to ask you to use the Q&A button if you have any questions about the presentation here, about AI, about the product. You can send your questions through there, and we are able to answer them, or we are able to keep them so that we can answer later on after this masterclass individually through email. Okay, so if you send your questions through the chat, unfortunately, we are not able to keep that organized. So please use the Q&A button. Okay. And of course, this webinar is being recorded. So you will all receive this recording later on. And you will also have the option to get a certificate. So if you watch the entire class again, if you want to share it, like I said, with your colleagues, with other team members, other department members, you can watch the recording later and get a certificate with the title of the class. Right, so you will be able to prove that you did 1 hour. You managed to spend 1 hour learning and diving deep into AI agents from Pipefy. Okay, so finally, I will pass it on to Vitor so we can talk a little bit about AI agents applications.
Thank you, Fernanda. Well, it's great to meet everyone here. I see some familiar faces and names. Fernanda, can you guys hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah.
It's perfect.
All good. Perfect. Awesome. Well, let's get started. I do see Irene here from FunThrough. Some of our customers are here. So great to see everyone. This is a topic that many of you have been asking us more and more about. I just left a recent conversation here with a customer that just recently left an event, and one of their goals for the year is to catch up. They noticed during the event that they are behind when it comes to technology and AI. So not only they want to bring some processes out of paper, spreadsheets, and emails to Pipefy, but they also want to introduce AI eventually as well, right? So our goal here internally is to continue to educate our customers and our prospective customers as they come to talk to us. So today's conversation will be focusing on applications, right? So how can we recognize different ways to apply AI? And the best part is most of you already know how Pipefy works. So I wanted to quickly start with setting the ground here, right? So the idea is most of you are familiar with ChatGPT and the applications that you can use with a conversational AI. The main difference between the agents to what we use with ChatGPT, it's how the information is flowing, right? So typically when we talk with ChatGPT, we are the interface, right? So we are creating that prompt, we are sending the message, we are talking with AI. After the AI responds based on our needs, most of the time we probably need to refine what the answer is, right? Either it provided us with part of the information, we need all of it, or sometimes we need to provide more details, right? One of the examples I gave to the webinar in Portuguese that we did yesterday, and I normally give this example, is AI. If we tell AI to pass butter on the bread, it will probably pass butter on the side of the bread or in places that we don't normally pass ourselves, right? So we need to be very detailed in the way that we describe the information that we want AI to provide us the answer, right? So after we collect the answer, right, it's what we need. We normally ourselves manually take that information, either create an email, we pass it on to a different system, or we, most of the time, I would say for myself, it's based on a knowledge, right? I want to find out that knowledge to use in a meeting, to use during a conversation, but I'm taking that somewhere else myself. So with our agents, what we're doing is basically the prompt is already ready. So we're building that prompt, we're refining the prompt, and we're using the data from your current workflows, right? So either an attachment that you already collect, either an information from a long text field that we want AI to analyze, right? If it's a transcript or a long piece of information, or anything else that's part of your current workflows, phases, forms. So that's the beginning of the process that we don't have to use our hands for, right? To bring it across. And then the second piece is we can use automation and integration capabilities within Pipefy to then take the response from AI in those fields that we already mapped as an output, and then we can take and do something about it, right? We can automate and integrate and send that response into QuickBooks if we're talking about a potential financial use case. Or if we're talking about contract management, we can take that contract that AI analyzed and gave a response, and we can apply the clauses via email or via another platform that we're using it for, right? So the idea here is explaining how, with the workflow piece that you guys currently have, how can we add a layer of AI there to add efficiency to your day-to-day and be recognized by doing so, right? Because one of the topics here that we also cover is how can ourselves individually, right? And I think it's a great that you all are here to learn more about this, because it's going to be part of your resume in your next job interview or in your next promotion internally when you look for opportunities, right? So having AI as one of your projects, as one of your initiatives, is something that it's really interesting as well. Okay, given all that said, we wanted to get into this slide here, which you guys will leave this for a few minutes here so you can read with me as I talk and explain a few things. Those are the main jobs to be done that we've seen with our customers so far, right? The first one, as you guys can see, read and extract data from documents and images, right? This is something that most of you have seen for a number of years now without AI, right? So we have tools like OCR that have been reading purchase orders, invoices, any type of documentation, right? It's been in the market for quite some time, and AI has now given the ability for us to be even more flexible and add a layer of scalability, right? So it gives us the ability to do more, right? And even be more creative the way we do things. Okay, so the example here that says a vendor invoice is received and automatically extracted by AI. If it matches on accounts payable record, it is processed, right? So we can process this by layering an automation rule there as well, right? The second piece, I think it's probably the most important here, is comparing information based on policies and procedures. As you guys have noticed, if you have spoken to one of our teammates or colleagues here at Pipefy, our AI agents are not becoming better by the information's processing from your company, right? In order to protect your company's policies, data, and all the privacy and security, we ensure that AI is only getting better by specific skills that we give it, right? And this is something that right now you have to ask our team to enable within your account. And then you can use policies, contracts, and any piece of information that will help AI to be more assertive. And you can even allow AI to use process data, right? So other cards or other pieces of information that have flown through that process can also be used. But the AI itself is not getting better by the information that you're processing, okay? So based on this, one example that I like to give is insurance, right? So when you're talking about customer claims or any type of claim or request, we have the policies that will match what the person needs to do, right? So if I crash my car and I submit the pictures and a purpose, a reason why I'm submitting the ticket, this ticket will go against an AI prompt that has the policy of the company supporting it. So if I'm asking for specific amount of money due to this specific crash, the policy will go against that, and then AI is going to be able to make that decision without a human intervention, right? So there's a few things there that can make this very, very interesting, not only for claims, but also for any type of request, right? One example that I like to give internally here at Pipefy is we have it in Slack, a chatbot that's fed with all our policies, vacation, benefits, anything that's related to HR or even the process internally, right? If I need to request something from our purchasing team, it provides me with the form. So it's basically an assistant that we have within the organization that will allow us to be quicker, right? Sometimes we need to request something via email or even through the forms in Pipefy, but it will take a day, it will take 2 days for someone in HR to respond to us. With the chatbot, I have an answer in seconds, right? So that's an idea that can be explored with your account manager as well moving forward. Okay. Wanted to pause here. I know that I've said a lot on those first two there. Any questions in the chat? Anybody wanted to bring any points here?
I do have one question, Vitor. I loved that you mentioned, this is very related to a question that I also received through the email, but I will add my special touch here to this question. You talked about integrations, you talked about OCR, right? And how often some of these data comes from other systems as well. So how have you, as an account manager, for example, account executive, have been educating your clients in North America, for example, to take the right steps even before you can bring AI into their processes?
Great point, right? And I mentioned a little bit about the integrations and automations in the past there during my initial piece. And what we see with new customers, right? It's a little different than current customers that most of our are here today. With new customers, we typically and this might apply for new processes that you guys as current customers might see in the future. For new processes, we typically like to map things out completely before even adding AI, right? Because AI is going to act on the process itself, on the workflow. So it is important that the process is mapped out, and you can run a few automations, you can set up the integrations before AI is even being applied to, right? So taking a step before we're running with AI, I think it's important. And based on how the process is running, we will make the adjustments, and then of course, the AI prompt is based on English, so we can continue to adjust and improve. But it's also important to map things out and understand what's going to happen before AI is then being applied to, because I consider this in levels, right? Or you go one base before you go to the other, and AI is one that the process needs to be digitized, it needs to be automated and potentially even integrated, right? So the information is flowing, and AI is able to capture that automatically, right? And one last piece to that question, Fernanda, is I would say that AI is an automation, right? It's part of our automation jobs or rules that you guys currently have, and it's there for a reason, right? It's an extra layer of automation, and of course, you can have reasoning. You can have more than a simple automation, but at the end of the day, we're automating how one agent is talking to the other, right? So to keep things simple, that's a good way to picture that as well.
I love that. It's as simple as any automation, but it does a lot more, right? So I love what Victor said, especially about the very first steps, right? So let's first analyze our process. Let's first check if we have everything up and running, optimized, and then we can consider the AI as this extra layer of intelligence to our processes. So hopefully that also answered the question that we received through the email. That's it for now, Vitor. You can go on, but the Q&A is still open, guys, so feel free.
Awesome. So moving on to the last two here, right? Summarizing categorized requests. The part to categorize the requests, you guys have already seen, right? We can do it through Pipefy. Now, summarizing the information is where we can add the layer of efficiency for those agents that are being routed those requests, right? So if we think about either a support request or even let's talk about maybe HR recruiting, right? Somebody's sending the resume, they're sending a lot of information that an HR analyst needs to analyze. With the AI, one of the use cases that we're seeing now is AI is based on your policy for hiring, right? Some companies, we have a customer that needs someone that's 21 or over, that doesn't have any criminal background and has experience working, night shifts or with, a nightclub setting. Based on those rules, AI is going to be able to categorize from 1 to 5, where 1 to 3 they're not even being considered for the next step. And we're, sending an email, letting them know that unfortunately they don't qualify. And then 4 and 5, those people will be going through an interview process, right? But we're removing a friction as part of the process there that typically a human had to either send an email, or even if it's automated, you had to categorize those people into the buckets that they fall into, right? So there's the humans are not being taken away. And I think one of the biggest learning curves that we're having here is that AI is not here to replace humans by no means, right? We're just allowing humans to be more strategic, right? And take more responsibilities on the strategic piece of the process, right? And on the fourth piece here, generate responses, much like the summarization, right? AI is now able to summarize that information. And if the human is not even needed, AI can generate the responses. Again, we can match to policies, we can match with the prompt according to how you want the response to be. And then you can generate the response. And then if the human is needed, then we can escalate it later down the line, right? But we've seen multiple processes within Pipefy now that have agents talking to each other, right? Once one agent has now read the claim and passed it on to approval, now we have an approval agent that's going to match with the policy and ensure that we can move forward to then an agent that's making the communication. And this third agent, he might have a prompt that has a tone, that has a communication guideline. So we're allowing the flexibility and scalability to have agents interacting with one another in one single process. Okay. And the tone and the communication guidelines that I mentioned is actually one of the things that we're doing for a customer that wants to deal with their support tickets. They are a small team of 2, and they're receiving 500 requests a month. And while they have been automating with a different system, it's just not possible for them to scale with that system. So they're looking to migrate into Pipefy and then use the agents to help them. And instead of growing from 2 to 4 people, they will be spending some money on AI agents with us, in AI credits, right? So that's a way, as their strategy allowed, to automate things and bring the agents to life. Okay. Now, the next piece here that we wanted to focus on is, let's look at our processes, right? This is a Center of Excellence, demand management, right? So, and as we talk about Center of Excellence, AI has been a project during the past couple of years, right? Only focus on engineers, part of the CTO's planning, right? Mainly focus on the technology side of the business or Center of Excellence. And now what we're seeing is not only Pipefy, but other applications with AI are democratizing the use of the technology, right? So if you are part of an HR, a finance team, or any back office processes within the organization, AI hasn't been a priority for most of these processes that we call the long tail, right? If they're not a big priority for the company, they are forgotten, right, in some way. So here with our AI, we wanted to also give you the opportunity to be a leader, to be a protagonist within your department, right? To make those adjustments, improvements, and continue to expand the IT line of influence, right? That's one of the biggest things that we're focusing on with Pipefy, right? IT has a big backlog, and they're not going to be able to help everyone, right? So by, of course, keeping governance of what's being done, especially with AI, right, and data, but they are allowing what we call citizen developers, right? People that don't have as much technical knowledge to be able to build the prompts, to be able to create those automations and continue to improve their current process without, a lot of coding or without increasing the IT backlog. Okay. So with this exercise here, this is what we'd like you guys to picture your own process, right? Or your favorite process or the one you work the most. And Faye, if you can move to the next one, please. We have a few ideas to identify opportunities to implement them, right? So we'll go back and forth between the previous slide and this one. But as you can see, right, as soon as the card is created, the first one there, we can already have an agent that's going to start working on this, right? As I mentioned, the recruitment process for HR, as soon as somebody submits their resume, AI can already start working on that. The support ticket can also be something that we're looking into. As soon as the support ticket is done, we can match with policies. The prompt can be based on a response. Again, other departments, purchasing, finance, conciliation, collections, so many different ideas that we can match as soon as the card is created. Now, in order to populate fields and move between phases, same idea, right? The second and third piece is there. So we can move phases depending on what's happening. We can also populate fields, right? So they can replace repetitive, manual, and human errors that happen when you're inputting manual information into that, right? So based on the creation of the card, AI can go capture that information, and the card, as you guys know, can be started through integration, right? So again, it can come automatically from a system. We can capture that information automatically, pass it on to the next phase, and then based on that field that was filled, that can be an automation that moves the card along, right? So again, integration, automation, AI, all working together within the capabilities of Pipefy to populate fields, to move between phases, and again, based on that field that's being filled, my accent there, playing a little bit, then that can trigger the alert to move it, to do something. So that's the idea there. And then at the end of the day there, we can analyze PDF documents, as we mentioned, and even use the assistant and the AI analytics there to do a few things for you guys, right? Whether it's understanding the SLA, make the improvements, and it's a full cycle, like that works, right? So as the process ends, you can use AI to analyze, just like the dashboards and reports that we have. But now you have AI analytics that's able, okay, this process might require an agent between phase 2 and 3 that will be able to support with this and that, right? So there's a few things that we can do to make this a round circle where AI is fully implemented within the process. Okay. So moving on to the next slide here, I think that comes to the end of my presentation. I know that's a lot of information that I just talked about. Hopefully everybody was able to get a couple of things out of this. Those are some of the logos that we work with. Some are well known in the industry that you might be part of. Accenture recently published an article with us talking about their more than 450 AI agents that deployed with their customers. So that's an article that's really interesting. One of the biggest technology consultants in the planet here, it's using our AI agents and gaining a lot of efficiency. So that's from my side, that's all today. So I wanted to thank you all for participating, and hopefully you have some more questions at the end here for us to answer. And hopefully this triggers different opportunities for you guys to let us know how we can help you and your teams to be more efficient, to slowly, right, but start working on deploying AI for your companies.
Amazing, Vitor. Thank you. We do have a question here from Irene. Can you elaborate on what you mean by it can analyze PDF documents without structured fields?
Without structured fields, I'm not sure I understand without structured fields. So basically, I mean, if you can elaborate on structured fields there, but the PDF, in your previous slide, go back for us, Faye. I think it's this one, Irene,
Yeah,
or
in the skills. Yeah, I think I know what this particular term means here, Irene. So, Victor, you can elaborate further as well. But basically, what we mean is that by the use of skills, which is a feature that we have inside of the AI agents, you will see it soon enough. If you haven't been able to check that out in our product, I will show you very soon. Okay, so we have a space to write the prompt in which we can select the dynamic field that will be analyzed by the AI, right? And right beneath it, we have the option to add skills. So those skills are outside documents or outside data that the AI will take into consideration to then provide you with the result, provide you with the answer. So the information that's inside of the PDF doesn't need to be on a field inside of your pipe, right? So I think I'm pretty sure that's what it means, because the idea of a structured field means a field inside of Pipefy, the information that we have inside of fields. But within the skills, we can add different documents, like a PDF, for example, to be analyzed. And all of the data, all of the information inside of that PDF doesn't need to be on different fields inside of the pipe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think it's part of your presentation, right? You show later where the
Yes.
skills will be, but that's exactly it, right? We now, and there's a few things that Fernanda will show later, Irene, that should resonate with this answer. But basically, we don't have to necessarily pull from a field in Pipefy, right? The skills will have your policies, your contracts, anything that might help the AI to be more assertive with that answer.
Perfect. Exactly. I will also get a link here specific about those skills. Okay. We do have a few demos, but not all of them show skills. So I will provide you all with a link that can show you a little more information, and let us know later on if you have any questions about the use of skills as well. I provided everyone here with my email on the chat. So if you have a specific case that if you found was not working with skills, let me know and we can solve that. Okay. We do have some limitations as well that I will cover here later on. Okay. I do have another question for you, Vitor, before I take over here. I think we covered a lot on how to start. We know where to start as well. But what else do you think is needed for an employee to take this initiative to improve their own area, their own processes?
Yeah, great question. And I think as we were talking about this webinar, right, and we wanted to go back to the basics because AI is a new topic in a lot of companies, and we wanted to start slow, right? And our previous webinars, we're very excited, right, internally to deploy workflows with AI and bring this to life. And I would divide this answer in three answers, right, or three topics. The first one, I would say it's training, right? So your company needs to provide training. I think you guys being here is a great start, as Pipefy will be providing those webinars. So understanding how it works, why it works, how it can be beneficial, because there's no, I don't see, we don't see a reason to create a problem to use AI, right? The companies have their own problems that you can already start using AI for. So understanding how that can be solved, it's a good start. The second piece I would say is understanding what tools are available within your tech stack, within your day-to-day to be able to solve that. And your company needs to provide not only the guidance to be able to use those tools, but also the structure and motivation to do so, right? So for projects, for initiatives, for a company-wide strategy, right? It needs to fall into that. Otherwise, you're just doing it for individual projects, right? So one of the customers that I mentioned that went to this event and triggered a lot of different ideas, it's part of their company strategy, right? They came out of that event with a company-wide strategy to be automating processes, to deploy AI within those, because they saw the importance of how the market is seeing this, right? We have a few slides that we present to customers sometimes that talk about how AI is a big part of our future, right? It's compared to how internet was introduced 20, 30 years ago. It's compared to the industrial revolution. It's a big mark within technology, within our lives, right? So it's probably within the five most disruptive things that we'll see within our lifetime when it comes to technology, right? So of course, AI might make me wrong in the future. It might deploy others, but and then the third part of my answer is individually, right? As I mentioned earlier, a little bit about that, right? When we go to job interviews, when we go to internal opportunities, it's important that we have this in our backlog, right? Or within our curriculum, our CV, that we have been part of initiatives, that we have been part of webinars that triggered ideas for us. So I think that those are the three pieces, right? Your company probably needs to provide you guidance and structure to learn things. You need to have the right tools, and I would say Pipefy, it's a good way to start, as you guys already use the platform. There's AI agents that you can start building and cloning processes as well to start playing with them. And then third piece, right? It's part of your future here. I would say, right, to gain a promotion. We have customers that have been recently promoted after deploying AI agents just because of the amount of efficiency they've seen. So my answer, I know that I extended that for a little bit, but I think those three pieces, right? It's how we can get started and how the motivation can come to us individuals, right? Because I use it, right, as a sales professional. We use a platform that records our conversation with customers, and then I can chat with that transcript. It gives me what I need. It gives me the next steps. It gives me potential challenges that they have. And then I can be more assertive with my communication. I can be more assertive with the information that I put into my CRM and overall my knowledge before I enter my next conversation with that customer, right? So it's helping me more efficient. I don't have to watch the entire conversation again most of the time, even though I do sometimes because it's understanding tone and things like that. But it's definitely helping me as a sales professional to be more efficient with my day to day, and I think that that can help every single one of you as well. Okay. Thank you.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Vitor. All right, so I will actually start to talk about AI strategies based on what Vitor has been saying throughout his explanation and his discovery into how we can identify these moments to implement our AI agents here at Pipefy. I also started this webinar saying that we use AI on a day-to-day basis, even if we don't realize it, right? And by what Vitor just said, it is a game-changing technology, opportunity, and so on that is already, of course, impacting our businesses, our day-to-day lives. And my main message here when we talk about strategy is that we need to be very smart with AI. We need to use this tool in its full capacity to help us. Okay, so first of all, we're going to explain to you here that if we know, I will use the term we, each one of us has a specific message, a specific objective towards that AI or AI agent, right? But if we know what to ask or how to ask, our AI knows how to deliver, right? So, for example, Vitor told us that one of the possibilities that AI has inside of our pipe is move cards between phases, right? Our AI agent is not able to do that automation by itself. So what we can do is ask the AI agent to complete a field, right? So just like Vitor played around with his accent, once that field is filled, we will then apply this other automation so that based on this trigger, another action will occur and the action will be move card between phases, right? So this is how we can use AI to our advantage. We can ask the AI to do things that other automations were not able to do inside of Pipefy. That's why it's a game-changing opportunity. But it can still do other things that we were used to. We can just connect one with the other, right? So we can connect AI agents with, which is an automation with other automations. We can connect the agent with other integrations. For example, we can ask to do an HTTP call with another system, with another software. So that can be, of course, a lot more advanced than what we're talking about right now. But the main thing is we need to be able to communicate to the AI what they need to do, right? So again, the possibilities here are endless, but I do like to highlight the fact that our main challenge with AI agents, at least for now, is communication. I'm talking about our challenge, like I said, because it is a challenge that we as humans have with AI. Okay, so I will begin talking about strategies covering a perfect anatomy of a prompt. Okay, now this was not something that I came up with, but I completely agree with. So I have the source here. Again, you will receive the recording and you will receive this presentation deck as well. So you are able to check out these links later on. Okay, but basically what we have here is an explanation as to how we can make sure that our message is coming across perfectly to the AI. So sometimes we are very lazy when it comes to talking to the AI. We think that, for example, ChatGPT will offer us the whole answer that we're looking for, will provide us with basically what came up in our minds. But AI does not yet read our minds. The AI reads our words, it reads our message, it reads our tone, right? So we need to be very clear and very specific. That is why I'm saying that our main difficulty at the moment is communication. So if, for example, I am looking for a specific pub in London, so that is, I'm planning a trip with my family. That is my main objective. I need to find a pub in London. I might be just very lazy. I'm sitting in my couch. I'm texting on my phone. I open ChatGPT and I just type out this particular message: pubs in London, right? But there is a deeper root to all that I am looking for. I want specific informations. I want a specific answer from our ChatGPT. So that is what this perfect anatomy of a prompt is all about. Okay. So it begins with our main goal. It then goes on to the return format. It then provides some warnings and requirements to our prompt. And then we have the whole context dump. Okay. Now, this post here was made considering the perfect anatomy of a prompt in ChatGPT, but this is also very accurate to our AI agents, right? Because we have a space to write the prompt, and we want this AI agent to be as thorough and specific as possible as well, okay? So for the goal, let's continue with my example here for the pub in London, okay? We need to write a clear and focused objective from the start. So we should use phrases like I require, or I need, or I really want, okay? So in this case, what I'm typing is I require a list of hidden gastropubs in central London that serve Sunday roasts. Now that is a lot more specific than my lazy message, right? That just said pubs in London. That is a lot more specific. But the return format will also help the prompt, the AI, to give me the answer that I want considering the request. So for example, please provide the official name, full address, booking details, price of roast, and specialty. I do not know how to speak this word. Basically, the sides, right? The special sides for each pub. So I want very special sides for that Sunday roast. Okay. So that is also something that I did not write at the beginning, but it should help with this return format. Perhaps the ChatGPT would just give me the name of the pub or even the address, but it would not provide me with those sites, or would not provide me with the price, which can also be an interesting information for me. Then we have some warnings. That is also very specific to each case, right? So what I'm asking here is something that is inside of the city. It can be closed. It can be not available on, for example, for reservations on Sundays. So that is something that I've already considered as a possible warning for that response. So here we have ensure that each pub is currently operating, it is not closed, and accepts Sunday bookings, right? Or we can even just reconfirm that I want a Sunday roast on Sunday. I do not want a Friday roast, right? So those are details that I found important to put on that prompt. And then we have the context dump, which are the details that can be relevant for this background information. So here I have a very specific context as well. I've visited most traditional pubs in Soho, and I prefer less touristy establishments. I'm looking for somewhere to take visiting family next month. So here we have, perhaps we have three very important details here. The first one being, I visited most of these traditional pubs in Soho. So Soho is a central region in London. It's a central place. I've excluded Soho from this narrative because I visited most of them. So ChatGPT will focus a lot more on other places in central London. Then I also mentioned that I prefer less touristy establishments, right? Because I don't want to go in a pub right next to Big Ben or to the London Eye. I don't want those touristy traps, you could say. So the ChatGPT, the AI will also consider these places as like not priority for what I'm looking for. And then we have the third information is that I am taking my visiting family next month. So besides the fact, actually there are two informations here, right? I want for basically next month. So it could take into account that the bookings are available already for next month, but mainly I'm looking to take my visiting family. So I don't want a pub that's more juvenile, that's more for younger people, right? So all of these contexts, all of these details can be very important for that, for the prompt, for the AI to understand what we're looking for. Okay. And this is how communication can make such a big difference. So we have here our way, our path to the AI agent inside of Pipefy. Okay, so I'm not sure if everyone knows this already. Okay, perfect. I just saw that I think someone had an issue with the audio, but I think it's fixed, right? So we have here the option of an AI agent right next, actually between the option to edit your pipe and between the option to add an integration. Okay. Now that does not mean that AI agents is not an automation. It's still an automation. You can still find this option inside of automations. But basically, we want to highlight the fact that the AI agent is an extra layer to your pipe. Even though it is an automation, it does a lot more than move a card between phases, for example, right? So once we click here, we have some templates as well. So we have document analysis, we have HR candidate screening, contract analysis, invoice validation, quality control, supplier selection, and we have more options here as well, okay? I will send you a link later on with more template options, okay? What are these templates? They are basically agents that are ready to go. So the prompts have been refined, have been already created for you. Now, of course, you will need to review it according to what you want in specific, and of course, regarding your own fields, right? So we have, you could say, the ideal, I will not say perfect, okay? The ideal HR candidate screening process prompt, right? For the agents to do this candidate screening process, summarize qualifications, match job requirements, and so on. But you could actually add an extra as extra requirements to this AI agent. You could ask the prompt to do something else in this candidate screening. Or, for example, you don't want one of the options. You don't want to summarize qualifications, but you do want to match the job requirements. Or you want to change the fields that it will analyze. It will not only analyze the resume that the person just attached, but it could also analyze other information that the person filled out in the form, right? So in all of those options, you do need to review the prompt and make your own modifications to it, okay? But of course, this template helps a lot because the prompt is ready to go. You just need to change a little bit. It's basically that gallery template that provides some processes that have already been established, right, in a lot of different departments. So it does that for the AI agents, and you can have your own tone added to it, okay? You can also create one from scratch, right? So once you opt to create an AI agent or opt to use a template, this is the page that it will direct you to. Now, this is very important for us to understand. Like we mentioned, both Vito and I, every AI agent works as an automation, right? Even though it means a lot more, but the basics are the same. So we first need to add this trigger. We first need to select an event. The AI agent will only work based on something, based on an event, based on a trigger, right? So you can use a lot of examples here to create your own special agent. And then we also have right here, we have some options for a beginning of a prompt, right? So you can ask to summarize a text, to review a text, to analyze data, to translate some content, to categorize data. So once you click on those options, it will provide you with at least the beginning of a prompt, and then you just need to select the dynamic field, right? This is also a question that I receive a lot, okay? This is the place to write your prompt, okay? At the moment, we have a limitation of 10,000, I think it's 10,000 characteristics inside of the prompt. That includes spaces, okay? But that is a lot of space, that is a lot of characters, right, to use inside of a prompt. So you can write a full prompt with like 5 paragraphs, depending on what you want. But it doesn't need to be that big. It doesn't need to be that extent. That depends on your use case, okay? We have a lot of demos here. Later on, I will show you how to watch them, and you will see both examples. For example, when Victor mentioned the IT department, the Center of Excellence Demand Management pipe, right? For that pipe, that is based on a demo that we have for IT departments. That prompt is huge because it has a full risk criteria based on certain fields. So there's a score designated to each kind of request. So that is a little more complicated, and the prompt needed to be refined to be a little bigger. But we also have a lot of other examples in HR, in finance, in insurance even, that, for example, it worked very well with a smaller prompt. Perhaps it would also work very well with a bigger prompt. But if it has already fulfilled our needs, it has completed our objective with a simple 1 paragraph prompt, then that's all it takes, right? So even though that perfect ideal format of a prompt might be a little bigger than what we're used to, it doesn't need to be that extent. It just needs to be applicable to what you want. You need to take into consideration all of those questions, the objective, the warnings, the context, and so on. So these examples that we have here are a little smaller. They are refined, they are very effective, and they are not that long, okay? And in this blue box here, we need to select the dynamic field. That is also a question that we receive. Once we're typing the prompt here, sometimes we just move on to the skills or to the fields that the AI will return, and we forget to add the fields that the AI needs to analyze. The AI agent will not even save. This automation won't work if you don't have here the dynamic fields. The AI agent doesn't work based only on the prompt. That is also a difference between ChatGPT, right? The prompt, inside of the prompt, you need to add the dynamic fields, which are the information inside of each card, right? Because basically they are the dynamic information that changes from one card to another. So if the AI agent is going to work with all cards or a lot of cards, basically a bigger volume than just one card, the information will change. So that's why you need to add this dynamic field, okay? Right below here, we have the option to add skills, okay? So this is what we meant regarding Irene's question earlier, okay? In this option to add skills, you will see the option to upload files and data, right? So if you want to add a PDF document here, you can, and that will work itself inside of the prompt. So the AI will already be able to analyze this document, okay? Now we do have some limitations, okay? We have a limit of 30 pages per document in the skills. We also have the limitation of 30 fields, 30 dynamic fields to be added inside of one prompt, and of 30 fields to be returned with the results of the AI. So basically to be completed by the AI. It's all 30 at the moment, except the size of the prompt, which is 10,000 characters, right? So that has been updated not long ago, and we are constantly working on increasing this limit, right? We need to run a few tests. We need to make sure that the AI agents, the automation will not delay. So that is a whole thing that our product team works on. But at the moment, this limitation is 30 pages per document, 30 fields as well. Now, that is a lot, right? So if you are creating one agent, one prompt, that is also, right, one single automation that happens, that one can represent up to 30 fields being analyzed, 30 pages being taken into consideration, and 30 fields being filled, being completed by the AI, right? So that is also something that is very worth testing it out if it makes sense for your business. Right below the skills, we have the fields to return the results. Okay, so this is the place that we need to define where the answer from our AI will be, right? So based on what we just asked, based on what the AI has been analyzing, the answer will be provided in these fields. Also, something that I like to highlight, you can test the action right here without actually saving the automation, right? Once you save the automation, it will run if the trigger sets. So if your trigger is as simple as when a card is created, once you save the automation, every card that is created will have this AI agent working on it, right? So if you test the action beforehand, you can actually see if it's working, if the prompt is refined, if the prompt is working well, and you are able to do this test without actually spending your automations on something that you're not sure yet that will work, okay? Also, something that I like to highlight here, everyone, let me just have a time check so that we are set to go, is that we can also check our automation logs. And if you want to test an AI agent in a process that has already been completed, that is working, that is fully functional, you can clone that pipe, right? And you can use this clone as a test. So it will be all of the same things that you're used to, the same process, but it won't affect directly the pipe that is functional. So you can use the test one to test your agents, right? So everyone, now I am going to show you some of the support materials. Like I said, this presentation deck will be available to all of you, okay? But for example, let me pick up this URL here, this link, and I'll send you all here in the chat. This is a playlist in our YouTube channel that is regarding use cases with AI. So all of these videos here use AI agents, all right? Some use skills, some don't. Some have a huge prompt, some don't. So we have a lot of different scenarios and different departments as well. We have here legal departments, HR, sales, finance, customer support, marketing, so a lot of insurance as well. So we have a lot of different departments that can cover a lot of examples that you are looking for, all right? And here I also have a lot of other support materials to you. You can use our support and chat from the company. You can use our Pipefy community. You can use our help center. You can also use our academy. This is where our recording of this session and all of the other sessions that we had, our masterclasses, our webinars, they're all set in our academy. And you can get a lot of certificates. This is a lot along the lines of what Victor said about prioritizing your own career, your promotions, your job interviews, whatever it is, your learning of AI and the market, right? So this is the place where you can get those certificates and watch our classes. And here we have the AI agents templates as well, right? So if you access here, let me send those as well. A lot of links in the chat, everyone. But like I said, you will receive this in the email as well, right? The picture is not updated yet here on the website, but it will be updated in your homepage. We have customer onboarding, invoice workflow, financial reports, and so on, right? A lot of templates that hopefully it will be very helpful to you as well, okay? So everyone, I just realized that I talked a lot, so we are already on time. But I send you all my email here, so you can send your questions through my email as well. Don't worry, all right? And you will also receive the recording along with the materials. Thank you so much, Vitor, for joining us. Your expertise made a lot of difference here in our class today. We learned a lot. And everyone, thank you for participating once again. I hope to see you all in our masterclass soon. Bye, everyone. Thank you.